now we are going to go into the demonstration of different way to do data driven. So the first one that we're going to demo is parameterization from your feature steps. How do you parameterize your data using your feature step? How do you bring your data into your feature steps? That's the first thing. So last week we got this particular solution. So we have this step basically that we've done. This has got no parameter at all. So one of them is this particular step. So if you go into this step, so this is our step definition. So if I go into this particular step, so you can see this is where my URL is being parameterized basically. So this particular method now is for us to bring this particular parameter that we put into our page object. We'll bring it forward into our feature file. Because what that actually does is, like, for instance, if we don't want to navigate to this site again, we want to navigate into a different site, or this site have changed, you have to go into your page object to be able to change this basically. But bringing that into your feature file allows you to be able to go to your feature file, and you don't even need to worry. Basically, you can just change it from your feature file directly from here. So that's what we are trying to achieve, and that's the reason for doing this basically. So let's create a new feature, and we're going to call that feature data driven. So data driven, I will say within feature step. So let's just say that is the name of this particular feature, and we would just say given in order not to repeat. I want to add my okay, so that will be the objective basically. So I don't want to repeat my data, so but I want to be able to update my data even from my feature file. So because of that, I want to be able to add my data into my feature step. So I will call this scenario, let's say validate form. So I want to validate a form. So giving, then the first ones I want to say giving I navigate. Bear in mind, you have to be careful so that you can write your step is very case sensitive, and also and even the same word, you should be careful so that even if you mix the space or something, it will be different step definition that will be created for that particular step that you are creating. So okay, all right, giving a navigate to site or URL, whatever you prefer. So let's just say I navigate to site. So what is the name of the site? So I'll put that in brackets. So 1 minute. Okay, so question said, do we use scenario outline or scenario? At this point, it's going to be scenario, right? So like I said, you're only going to use scenario outline when you are using examples. I'm going to go to that right now. But at this point, it's going to be scenario because we are not using an example. We are going to be just be passing our parameter into our feature step, into the step. So now giving and navigate to site. So what's the name of the site? Let's say www.ifhc.com. So, and that will be it. So let's say HTTP. Okay, so that will be. So then, so when I enter email, so what's my email? I put my email there and say my test at test.com. So I say that is that, and I say maybe and enter password. So my secure password. So let's say then I or you can actually say I click on submit button. So let's say this is just simple example. So in this instance now, this is what we're going to have. So for this case now, we can generate our step definition. So as you can see, so this is go we only passing all these parameters in these 3 steps. The other step, there's no parameter to be passed, so we are not using that. So then let's generate this step. So to generate the steps, we go into, we right click and okay, generate. We go to our step. So let's say this is so step definition. So we want to generate a step in this particular step, and that is the step created. As I've told you last week also, there's some issues, so we just save our test. So sometimes doesn't happen, so we just make a little change and save it so that we can ensure that we get this color coding that we are expecting. So as you can see now, the color coding changes. You can see the parameters. Let's leave the URL because URL is peculiar. So in the other parameters that we pass, you can see it changes to grayish actually. So which is showing that that's a parameter, and then you have white, blue, and the gray actually. So if you right click and let's go into that step. So you right click and go to step definition to see the step definition that was created for that particular step. So we go in there and you can see when I enter email, and you can see that also create this. Initially for the other one we won't have something like this, basically like a regex. So but if you look into the method that's created for us, we have the method name as when I enter email, and there's a parameter now that has been generated for us with PO basically. So the P0 is what has been generated for us. So then what do? We then like I said, because I know this should be email. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to change that to email so that I don't keep on calling my parameter PO, because what exactly is PO, I don't know. So now the same thing is for the password. So let's go back a bit. I'm going to repeat my solution. Okay, so the same way also I've got the site here also. So and I'll change that to URL so that I can call myself. I can use that as my parameter basically, because it's URL. So but let's go back to where we started from here. So when I navigate to this site, so I go to our navigation form. So this navigate form right now, so which is our page object here. So this is our page object, because our page object that we've written, we actually had coded the we had coded the URL inside the page object, which is not what we want to do now. Basically, in our page object now, we want to pass a parameter. We want to pass a parameter, and our parameter should be the string that would store the URL. So you would naturally now create another page object, right? So so let me just create another one here. So let's say as a public navigate to form. But this time around, I'm going to ask it to accept a string. So with a void, sorry. So now, so you would ask that, oh, these two, one and this one, they have the same name. This is another good thing about object-oriented programming, because both of them are a bit distinct, because one has got a string argument and the other one has not got any argument basically. So when you are going to be writing or calling them, when you call this one and you don't put any parameter and you don't put any argument, it knows that you are calling this one. So but if you call this particular name and you put parameter, it knows this is one that you are calling, which is a good thing. So don't let that confuse you. But if that is confusing, you can actually just put something and say with parameter. Maybe that would make your life easy, but that is not the best way to do it. So you could use the same name, but of course they are kind of distinct anyway. So let's say you don't want to get confused, use this basically. So now our page object now. So let's copy this and put this here. Alright. So now, as we've done now, what we want to try to resolve is we don't want this particular URL stored. We don't want it stored as a hard coded. We want it to be dynamic, basically to come from the page object. So and we know that our page object, we can call the page object and pass the argument URL. So for that reason, we can pass that argument into our go to URL. So basically, when we call this method, we're going to say, call this method, we're going to pass an argument of URL to it. And then when it comes here, it's going to take that URL and it's going to navigate to that particular URL. So this is the page object that we've just added now. So as we've done last week, so this is, we're going to call this page object now from our step definition that we've created. So we've created a step definition for the, where's that? Yeah. this one. So we created this step definition. So last week also we did the same thing. Basically, the first thing that we did was to initialize our was to declare our page object. So you're going to, when you create another page object, you will need to, and you want to use, sorry, when you create another step definition and you want to use your page object, you need to do the same thing basically. The first thing you do is for you to be able to use that page object that you've created in your step definition, you would need to declare it basically. So let's say automation, what's the name of that? So we want to use our page object. So let me go back. Where's the page object? So so this automation. Yeah. So this is the page object that we want to use, because that's where. Bear in mind. Okay. Yeah. That's no. So this is the page object that we want to use. So I'm going to copy that name. Then I'll go into my step definition. So declare it first. That's the first thing. Declare my page object. So, and like I said last week, the name of that page object, and I'll create an instance of it. But this time I want to create the same name, but the instance is now lowercase. So now I've declared an instance of that particular page object class. So as you can see, it's showing red, which is basically I need to bring the namespace into this particular class. So I would say using the namespace that this particular class is in. So, and then the next step that we've done, so if you go to this particular, the next step is for us to create a what's it called, a constructor basically. So that I'm trying to go through this step because you can see that it's got like a framework basically. You just need to know what are the steps I need to do. What are the steps I need to do? Once you actually know those step by step, and even if you don't understand why you're doing it, as we are going through the step by step, you will get to know about it later. So the first one that I've done right now in my step is to first declare, which I have done. Now I'm going to create a constructor. I'm going to create a constructor of myself. So to create a constructor is a method that's got the same name as the class. So this is my class. So I'm going to create a method and say public. So it's not going to have a return type. So I'm going to say public, open and close. And so that is me creating a constructor. I've created a constructor. Anytime my class is called, the constructor gets executed first, basically. So because that is what is happening, so I would now instantiate that class that I want to use, which is my page object. So I will instantiate it now. So basically, I will say this particular class, which is my page object, instance of that is equal to, I'm calling another instance, so a new instance of my page object class. So basically, right now, I have now got a new instance, an instance of that class. So I can start using this particular name, and once I say this name dot, it's going to go into this particular page object, and I can be able to get any of the methods that I have written in this particular page object. So now if I go into my step, that I have written now, validate form, right? Navigate. So the next step is for me to bring this particular page object and call it one. So this is my instance, right, of my page object. And if I say I bring it and I say dot, so from there I can actually have visibility to all the methods in that page object. So as you can see, I can enter line text, I can navigate to form. This is one that we've used before, and then the second one that we just written, navigate to form data. So I can bring that in, right, and open and close brackets. So as you can see, even though I say open and close brackets, it's bringing an error message, and it's saying that it's expecting a string. It's expecting string URL or something like that. So I would need to pass an argument of a string. And if I say URL, so technically what I have just done is, and we know this URL is coming from our picture file. I've just technically passed that URL into the the page object basically. So when my page object is going to be called, it's going to have the URL that I have put in my feature file. So automatically when it run, it's going to run that URL for me. So that's what is going to happen basically. So let's try to do that quickly. So I'm going to put breakpoint here, so to see what we've just done. Debug. So this is what we learned last week. This is coming from the hook file basically. Now because I put a breakpoint here, so it stops. So I'm going to either click on step into or step over, but because I want to see what runs under this particular step, so I will say you should step into it. So you can either press F11 or say step into. Step into, it goes into that particular step. So then I would also want to see, okay, step into it basically. As you can see, the first thing that is executed now is my constructor basically. As you can see, the constructor is executed, and that constructor, as you can see, is going to initialize that page object for me so I can be able to use it. So because if I don't initialize it, it's going to say, oh, as you can see, it's saying null, right? It's going to say there's nothing there, it's null. So that's why you sometimes when you run your test, it's going to say null object or something like that. So but having to initialize it, so allows you to be able to use that instance of that particular page object. So you would I don't need to go into the page object for now to initialize it, so I will just say step over it, and then it goes again. So now I am now in my navigation to the site. So I want to see what is happening under the hood here. So I will say step into. So now it goes here. So when it goes to this step now, so and I want to see, can you see that? So when I put my mouse on the URL, it's actually getting that URL www.keepfree.com basically, which is actually the URL I have supplied from the feature file, because now you can see this is it's actually being passed to this particular parameter here. So it's getting here. So basically, instead of writing it here, as you can see, this one has got hard coded. It's not even keep tweeters there. It's blue sky. So and this is passing from the feature file. So I can say, okay, now press F10, and that goes and opens the site basically, and that's it. And that goes on and goes on. So because I have not done anything on this one, so there's nothing. So it goes. So and so I can stop that for now. So that is how to pass it. So the same way we can do the same thing for the enter emails. So for the enter emails, we would call the page object, right, to enter email. So, and we can say dot. So now, so one way, I want to show you another step to create your page object. So now I have called instance of my page object. I now want to create method now. So let's assume I've not created the method for that particular action. So I want to create that method. In this instance, I can create the method. I can say enter email. So enter email. But I know that I want to enter email, and I know that the email that I want to enter should have a parameter of email. So I can pass email as a parameter. If this is confusing, don't worry, to be honest. So now what happens is, because I have not created that particular method in this class, so it's going to say, oh, I don't see that method because it's not available. So it's another shortcut to actually create that method. So what's going to happen now, I can click on this and you can say generate the method for me. So it's going to generate that method under that particular class for you automatically. So you can do that. So that is generated automatically. So if I go into that, so it's generated automatically. So, and it's on my page object basically. So, and that is a method that we need to call. So now what do I need to do here? We've done similar thing before, but it's hard coded. So we've sent email address. So let's see, when did we do that? Okay, unfortunately we didn't do that last week. So, but let's try to do that now. So, think we're using the Blue Sky website. That's the URL. Yeah, I think we're using this. Okay, so we want to get this URL. We want to inspect the email. So we've discussed last week of different ways that we can actually get the elements, inspect the elements. So, no, sorry. Okay, so we can, as you can see from here, this is got an ID, so we can use ID, and it's got name. We can use the name. So we didn't use the name initially, but it's not advisable to use a name because sometimes the names are not unique. So because you want to be able to uniquely identify your elements. But if you're sure the name is unique, you can use it. So let's try to use the name at this instance. So the first thing that we need to do for that one, so we're going to create the web element so that we can identify the elements. So let's say email address. Java dot find elements. How do we want to find it? By dot. So bear in mind, like I said, all these are different ways that you can actually identify an element. So this might also be an interview question. So right now I'm going to use name. So and so yeah, open brackets. So what is the name? So from here we know the name is what? Email. So that's the name that this particular element is called. So I'm going to put that in the brackets and that. So with this now I can clearly identify the email address. So that is when I call this particular variable, I am actually talking about the email. So now when I go into my method, enter email, I can call that email address. So basically I am referring to this email. So what do I want to do with this? I can say dot, then I want to send keys. So I want to send keys, that means I want to type something. What do I want to type? I want to type this email inside. And you know this email actually is coming from my, because when I call my page, when I call this particular method, I'll be calling it from my step definition. And my step definition has got a parameter from the feature file. So when I pass email into it, so basically everything is kind of now tied together. So if you go into your feature file, you have your feature file, and you go into your step definition now, you have your step definition. Your step definition is called this. This is coming from your feature file. And then you are calling your page object, and you are passing the email as an argument to your page object. So when you go into your page object, you have the send keys, and the send keys, this is coming from the step definition, and that the email from the step definition is coming from the feature files. So that is how to link everything together in terms of parameter, so that you don't need to add code your parameter. You can put your parameter into your step like this, basically. So that is one way to do that. Any questions? So I can quickly run that step also. I can comment this one out so that I can see. So we can, let's just run this one. Let's put this step one breakpoints into that one too. Oh, okay. That is going to fail because the enter email address is not on gifttree.com. So I actually put that into. So we're going to, let's see what happens. So if you, let's run it. So okay. I'm not expecting that to pass, because that shouldn't be. So this one should not be. Oh no, sorry. The email address should not be found, or else maybe there's email on the site. Basically, and give it a con. So maybe, oh, okay. Maybe let's, okay. So let's go. I'll put a breakpoint and see what happens anyway. Let's see what happens. Okay, sorry, apologies. I think I am running a different one, so this should be the one that I need to run, not that one. So let's run this one. Okay, so that's a breakpoint. So let's see. Go into last step. I go into last step. Go into. So, okay, all right. So as you can see, there is another object on the site with email basically. So that's why it's actually being able to find it. So yeah, okay. So that's it basically. So it's actually finding that one. Well, I think that's okay basically. So as you can see, our name from your feature file is being typed into this particular object. Okay. All right. So that is, yeah, okay. That's fine.